After Victoria became paralyzed, I took care of her with unwavering dedication for 2 whole years. Everyone believed that the first thing she'd do once she could walk again was marry me. However, on the night of her successful surgery, when I asked her if she wanted to marry me, she hesitated. Her silence spoke volumes, and the disdain in her eyes was impossible to hide. I smiled faintly and said, "I understand." That very night I left without hesitation, taking an 8-figure bank card with me. "Do you still want to marry me?" I asked. Victoria was momentarily stunned when she heard this. She stared at her legs for a long time without saying a word. The noise from outside seeped through the slightly open door. Someone said, "The doctor said Victoria's surgery was a success. She should be back to normal in less than 2 weeks. I truly didn't think she'd recover. 2 years ago, she had nearly given up on herself. It's all thanks to Sincere's unwavering support. They're definitely going to get married, right? Better start preparing the wedding gift early." Hearing these joyous blessings, Victoria remained silent. The awkward atmosphere lingered in the air. Finally, I broke the silence by kneeling and massaging her calf as I had done for the past 2 years. I asked gently, "Is the pressure okay?" Only then did her tense body relax. I continued with my usual care, asking, "Does it feel uncomfortable?" She shook her head and seriously replied, "No, it feels good." Looking at my hands in a daze, I remembered how it all started. I didn't know how to massage at first, but Victoria, with her pride and dignity, refused to let any nurse touch her. Each time a nurse came, she would lose her temper and drive them out. Yet for her legs, massage was essential. So, I learned from the owner of a massage clinic for 3 months. I practiced on myself first before finally working up the courage to touch her legs. The first time I massaged her was while she was asleep. Her sleep was light, and she woke up to find me. Furious, she shouted, "Don't touch me, get your filthy hands off me, get out." I didn't leave. Following the technique I had learned, I continued pressing the acupoints. Her legs couldn't move, so she grabbed a pillow and threw it at my head. I remained unfazed. Then she started throwing anything she could reach at me. Finally, she hurled a photo frame. Inside the frame was a picture of her in college, holding a trophy in one hand and making a peace sign with the other, full of youthful vitality. Warm blood trickled down my forehead, and as she saw it, she tried to struggle toward me but was powerless because of her legs. In the end, she covered her face and suddenly began to sob. Through her tears, she choked out, "Leave. Just leave. There's no point in staying. I can't feel anything. No matter how much you press, it's useless." In those days, she wallowed in self-pity. Rain or shine, I came to her house every day to help her with her therapy. Until one day, her mother, Olivia, discovered that she had tried to overdose on sleeping pills. Olivia rushed her to the hospital in a panic. Desperate, Olivia didn't know what to do. I knelt before Victoria and said, "Look at me." Obediently, she looked at me. I said, "Everything will be okay. Trust me." At that moment, even I didn't know where my confidence came from. From that day on, I moved into their home. Olivia cried while thanking me repeatedly. "Thank goodness for you," she said. She hesitated, and I knew what she wanted to ask, so I said, "As long as Victoria doesn't chase me away, I'll stay by her side." But the truth was, even when she did try to chase me away, I didn't leave. There were times when the massages seemed to make no progress. In frustration, she shouted, "Get out, all of you, get out." By then, she was already in a wheelchair. Her bedroom was a wreck, with things smashed everywhere. The good thing was, she finally stopped targeting me with her outbursts. Once her tantrum subsided, I approached her again and repeated, "Victoria, trust me." I said this phrase over and over for 2 years. Gradually, she began to feel sensations in her legs. Slowly, she was able to perform simple movements. Until yesterday, when the surgery finally took place, the doctors were astonished, saying the operation was a great success. If all went well, she'd be able to stand again. Olivia, upon hearing the news, handed me a credit card. I stared at it absent-mindedly. These 2 years I hadn't done all of this for a card. Victoria's friends all jokingly called me bro, but the truth was, I hadn't even confessed my feelings to her, let alone defined any sort of relationship. Victoria had once said to me, Sincere, when my legs recover, I want to marry you immediately. That was during her first round of therapy when the doctor had gently expressed regret about her prognosis. I pushed her home, and as soon as we got inside, she broke down. The once unattainable high achiever had suddenly fallen off her pedestal. It would have been hard for anyone to accept. I held her tightly as she bit into my shoulder, so deep and so hard that the scar remains to this day. When she saw the blood, she snapped back to reality and frantically apologized. I'm sorry," she said. After apologizing as I massaged her like usual, she uttered those words. Then she asked me, "Sincere, do you secretly like me?" I didn't deny it. I looked at her and said, "Yes." She stared at me for a long time before saying she wanted to marry me. But everything I did wasn't for some kind of trade-off. I just wanted her to feel the same way I felt. I hoped that one day she could genuinely fall for me too. Now, as I stood up and rubbed the medicine into my hands to warm it, I began to massage her calf again. I knew she was watching me. After a long silence, her voice broke through. She said softly, "Sin, you don't have to do this anymore." My hands paused, but I still finished the massage. Tilting my head up, I asked her once more, unwilling to give up, "Victoria, do you still want to marry me?" She hesitated to speak, but ultimately remained silent. I could only laugh at my own wishful thinking. After all, we've been together every day for so many years, and I've secretly loved her for just as long. How could I not have foolish hopes? I stood up and washed the medicinal ointment off my hands. From outside the bathroom door, she finally spoke, "Sincere, you're like a brother to me." A sharp pang shot through my head. I rubbed my temples hard and replied, "Please don't say things like that. It's too cruel for me to hear." When I pushed open the bathroom door and stepped out, the living room was still bustling with chatter. I glanced at Victoria, then struggled to pull a little box from my pocket and casually tossed it into the nearby trash can. I knew that ring was never worth much, certainly not enough to match her status, but I'd still clung to the foolish hope of proposing to her someday. Even though it pained me, I had lied to myself again and again, thinking the right time just hadn't come yet. But now, as I finally threw it away, I felt a strange sense of relief. A part of me regretted not discarding it sooner. Victoria noticed my movement, her gaze flickering for a brief moment. She seemed like she wanted to say something, but I waved her off and ushered her toward the door. The moment we stepped out, the friends in the living room swarmed around us. Someone teased, "Hey, what private little secrets were you two whispering about in there? Not even letting us in on it." Another chimed in, "Don't worry, we won't mess with you today. We'll save that for your wedding." Others joined in, saying, "Let's hang out for a bit longer and then we'll leave." Victoria's close friends, as considerate as she was, had all brought juice and light snacks since she was still recovering from surgery. One of them asked cheerfully, "Victoria, once you're better, let's go skiing together." "How about Titlis Mountain?" Victoria nodded lightly without saying much. Her friend turned to me with a playful smile and said, "Bro, you'll have to come along to look after Victoria." Victoria lifted her head and passed the question to me. After being rejected twice in a row, even someone as shameless as me still had a shred of pride. I said, "You guys can go without me." But then Victoria spoke up unexpectedly. "We can all go together. After all, I see you as an older brother." Her words landed like a bomb. The room fell into an awkward silence. One of her friends laughed and playfully poked her cheek. "Victoria, what kind of joke is that?" The tension was quickly diffused as others chimed in. "Her legs just healed. Her brain must still be foggy. Don't take it seriously, bro." The comment was brushed aside amidst the laughter, but Victoria remained silent the entire time. I thought back to a conversation I'd had with an old friend years ago. He had asked me, "Sincere, are you sure about this? Someone like her, a wealthy heiress. She's from a completely different world than ours. If she were a normal person, would she even consider marrying you?" At the time, I didn't dare answer, and even now, I still couldn't. Until Victoria gave me her answer, no, she wouldn't. The gathering's atmosphere remained light-hearted, with soft music playing and everyone reminiscing about the past. I lowered my head and searched for Titlis Mountain on my phone. It wasn't a well-known place, but it was a famous ski destination in the area. That was when I truly understood what it meant to be from different worlds. I stood up, and Victoria's gaze immediately followed me. I returned to the bedroom and made a call to the woman who had tearfully thanked me 2 years ago. Rubbing my hands together, I asked, "Aunt, about that bank card of yours." She seemed eager to bring it up before I could even finish my sentence. "7 figures, take it all. Thank you for looking after Victoria these past 2 years." I let out a heavy M&M in response. There wasn't much for me to pack. I tossed my few belongings into the trash can, grabbed the bank card, and left. On my way through the living room, one of the rich kids asked, "Sin, heading out so late? Where are you off to?" Not wanting to make Victoria uncomfortable, I smiled and said, "Just hungry. Going out to grab a bowl of noodles." They started joking about ordering takeout, but I waved them off. Takeout from places you guys like costs hundreds of dollars. Not worth it. Victoria seemed to realize something. She stared at me, unblinking. I gave a casual wave to everyone and said, "I'm off." At 1 in the morning, I walked away from the place I'd lived in for 2 years with nothing but a bank card in my pocket. At least I had found a way to move on. No more staying by Victoria's side, no more worrying about her sudden emotional breakdowns. My body, finally free of tension, felt strangely out of place. I couldn't sleep, so I sat on the balcony, nursing a beer and gazing at the sparse stars in the sky. In the silence of the night, I began to listen to my own thoughts. I had assumed I would feel sad, even heartbroken, but I didn't. I simply opened another bottle of beer, touched the scar on my shoulder, and wondered how much longer it would take to fade. That night, all I felt was the cool breeze and the brightness of the stars above. Victoria called me the next morning, just before dawn. When I picked up, there was nothing but silence on her end. Eventually, I broke it by asking, "What's up?" Hesitantly, she spoke sincere. "I was wondering, could you make those shrimp dumplings for me?" After her accident left her paralyzed from the waist down, she had refused to eat. No matter how many famous chefs prepared food for her, she kept her mouth shut. I didn't coddle her. If she didn't want to eat, then she wouldn't get anything at all. Instead, I ate Cantonese dim sum right in front of her. By the 3rd day, she finally gave in and begged me to let her try a shrimp dumpling. After that, she only wanted the ones I made, so I learned how to cook them. But yesterday's events were still fresh in my mind. Her silence lingered with me. Calmly, I replied, "Victoria, I'm gone now." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. I didn't know what else to say, so I simply hung up. There was an astounding amount of money left in my bank account. I stared at the zeros, dumbfounded, counting them over and over again, still unable to believe it. Carefully storing the bank card away, I finally understood what my friend had meant when she said, "She's not from the same world as us." It was true. My parents were just ordinary people. They knew I was taking care of my paralyzed girlfriend and even came to visit me. Back then, Olivia was exceptionally hospitable. My parents felt out of place. After we returned home, my dad said to me, "If it doesn't work out, let it go. We're not a good match anyway." It was only now, 2 years later, that I began to understand Olivia's actions. The extravagant dishes she served were so luxurious that even Victoria was surprised, not to mention my parents, who had come from a small county. Olivia's hospitality wasn't just warm, it was deliberate, making it clear to my parents that we weren't from the same world. With the card in hand, I decided to buy a new house. Not a single zero disappeared from the balance. The next few weeks were a blur of renovations and errands. Half a month later, I ran into Victoria at a cafe near my new place. She was sitting with her friends, who teased her loudly. "Victoria, if Sincere leaves, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Go after him." Another friend chimed in, "Sincere's been sweet-talking you for years. Just apologize and act a little cute, it's not that hard." Someone else joked, "I'll just call him bro and be done with it." Victoria hadn't been out for 2 years. Her skin was pale, almost dazzling in the sunlight. Hearing her friend's half-serious, half-joking remarks, she tugged at the corner of her lips and replied vaguely, "If Sincere shows up Chapter 1. On New Year's Eve, my mom fell down the stairs. I called my wife a doctor, begging her to save my mom. But she said her first love, Ethan, had a fever, and she couldn't leave his side. After my mom was discharged, I filed for divorce. I had set her free so she could be with her precious Ethan out in the open. So why, in the end, did she come to regret it all? So you're saying Ethan Hamilton is more important than me? I had just told my wife, Victoria Barrett, that my mom had prepared all her favorite dishes for New Year's Eve and wanted us to come home for a family dinner. Her response was an immediate refusal. Not today. Ethan just called me. He said he's not feeling well, so I have to take him to the hospital. But it's New Year's Eve. Before I could finish, Victoria cut me off. We can celebrate New Year's every year. It doesn't have to be this one, right? She said in a cajoling tone. In the 3 years we'd been together, I'd always surrendered unconditionally whenever she used that tone. She knew it was her trump card, a trick that never failed. But I never imagined she'd use it on me for Ethan's sake. This time it wasn't her playful charm that left me speechless. It was the cold calculation behind it. Victoria sensed the displeasure in my voice. She came and sat beside me, gently shaking my arm. Come on, you know you're the one I love most. No one can compare to you. I really have to go. I'll try my best to be back tonight. If I can't make it, I'll let you know. Without waiting for a response, she stood up, put on her coat, grabbed her purse, and walked out the door. Watching her leave, an indescribable ache churned in my gut. Ever since Ethan Hamilton had reappeared 6 months ago, this had been Victoria's attitude towards me. To others, she was gentle and considerate, always seeming to discuss things with me. Only I knew it was all a facade. In reality, she never listened to my opinion. She always did exactly as she pleased. If I ever complained to anyone, they would just think I was being petty and nitpicky. It left me with a bitterness I couldn't voice. I took a few deep breaths to steady myself. I decided to head out to the supermarket to buy some nutritional supplements for my mom. It was a holiday after all. The most important thing was for everyone to be happy. There was no need to burden my mom with our problems and ruin her peace of mind. About an hour later, as I was driving home with the supplements, my phone rang. It was the hospital. Mr. Sincere Dawson? This is First Central Hospital. Your mother fell down the stairs. She has a cerebral hemorrhage and is currently in emergency surgery. Please come as soon as you can. I slammed on the brakes, wrenching the steering wheel. At the same time, I frantically dialed Victoria's number. Victoria was a neurosurgeon at First Central Hospital. Her skills were impeccable. She was the top in her department. In an emergency like this, having her there would put my mind at ease. 1 ring, then 2. The line was busy. No one picked up. I called 5, 6 more times. Same result. Just as I was about to lose hope, the call finally connected. But it was Ethan's voice that answered. Sincere? Victoria went to get a doctor for me. Do you need her for something? Chapter 2. Right then I was in no mood to argue with him or question what Victoria was doing. When she gets back, have her call me. It's a matter of life and death. Please, as soon as possible. By the time I finished speaking, I had already arrived at the hospital. I sprinted to the emergency room and found my mom's attending physician. The patient's condition is not good. We've already contacted the best surgeon. As soon as she arrives, we'll begin the operation. I followed the doctor's instructions, paid the fees, and registered. After running around to get everything settled, I returned to my mother's bedside. Seeing her lying there, unconscious, my heart ached with an unbearable pain. I glanced at my phone again. It had been another 20 minutes since I'd last called Victoria. The screen was still blank. Not a single message from her. I dialed her number once more. This time I finally heard her voice. Honey, what's wrong? I was on the verge of losing my mind. Didn't Ethan tell you? My mom fell down the stairs. She has a cerebral hemorrhage and needs surgery. Victoria, my mom has always been so good to you. You have to save her. I'm begging you. My voice was so frantic that people passing by turned to stare. I'd assumed Victoria would come without question. After all, Everyone always said she and my mom were closer than a real mother and daughter, even closer than my mom was with me. I never expected the hesitation that followed on the other end of the line. Well, honey, Ethan has a really high fever right now. He's on an IV drip and keeps dozing off. He really can't be left alone. Dr. Atkins at our hospital is also very good. How about I contact her for you? A wave of uncontrollable anger surged through me. Victoria Barrett, we are a family. She's your mother too. She only went out because she was going to buy the ingredients for your favorite dish. My words didn't seem to stir any guilt in her. Instead, she just kept explaining herself. But Ethan really can't be left alone here. Look, your mom has you to take care of her, but Ethan doesn't have any friends or family in this city. I'm the only one who can help him. If I hadn't come back just now, his IV bag would have run empty, and he wouldn't have even been able to call a doctor. He can barely even speak right now. Just then, a nurse came to my mother's bedside. She said the surgeon had arrived and they were ready to take my mom into surgery. I saw Victoria for who she truly was. There was no point in begging her anymore. I hung up the phone and watched as they wheeled my mother into the operating room. My eyes were fixed on the glowing surgery in progress sign above the door. The breath I had been holding in finally escaped me. My body went limp, and I collapsed onto a chair, completely drained of strength. Time ticked by, minute by agonizing minute. A full 5 hours passed before my mother was finally wheeled out of the operating room. Although the wait was long, the outcome was good. The doctor said the surgery had gone smoothly. She just needed to stay in the hospital for observation for a while, and if everything was fine, she could be discharged. Just as I let out a long sigh of relief, my phone rang. Victoria's name flashed across the screen. Honey, could you bring me a change of clothes? Your size would be fine. Ethan wasn't feeling well just now and threw up all over me. Chapter 3, I clenched my fist, rubbing my throbbing temples. After learning about my mother's critical condition, not only had she shown zero concern or asked how she was, but she was now ordering me to run errands for Ethan Hamilton. Her world revolved around her first love. My mother and I didn't even register on her radar. Victoria, have you lost your mind? My mother is still sick in the hospital, I shouted into the phone, only to be met with Victoria's calm, level accusation. Why are you yelling? I was busy, I forgot to ask, that's all. Why are you so hot-tempered all of a sudden? I pressed the power button, ending the call, and immediately blocked her number and all her contacts. I sat by my mother's bed, waiting for her to wake up. Around midnight, I ordered some takeout. As I stepped out to grab it and was heading back to the room, I saw a familiar figure not far down the hall. It was Victoria. So this was what she meant by being too busy taking care of someone to get away. She was in the same hospital, just in a different ward. A floor or two away, a trip that would take less than 2 minutes by stairs. A bitter taste filled my mouth. Looking back over the last 6 months, Victoria was always telling me she didn't have time. No time for our anniversary, no time to see a movie with me, no time for dinner, no time for a date. But for Ethan, she was always available at a moment's notice. At first, she tried to hide it from me. But after I discovered Ethan's existence, she admitted it brazenly, saying she'd been going out with him all along. She just tossed me a casual, "we're just friends," and stopped hiding it, offering no further explanation. As if her conscience were truly clear. In a daze, Victoria spotted me. A look of displeasure instantly crossed her face. Clearly, she was still angry about our earlier phone call. In the past, I would have rushed over to appease her. A small cake, a bubble tea, a gift, a flood of sweet words. I wouldn't have felt at ease until she was smiling again. But today, I just pulled out my phone and stared down at the screen. I walked right past her, pretending I hadn't seen her. She was probably trying to give me the silent treatment because she didn't call out to me. But whatever she was thinking now, it no longer mattered to me. If she didn't care about me, there was no reason for me to keep pouring my heart out and wasting my emotions on her. Over the next few days, as I ran errands around the hospital, I inevitably ran into Victoria. Neither of us spoke a word to the other. But one day, I ran into not only Victoria, but Ethan as well. He greeted me first. Sincere? What are you doing here? Are you looking for Victoria? Chapter 4. I'm so sorry, he continued. She's been taking care of me for so many days, she's barely been home. You must have been worried sick. It's my fault. I didn't consider your feelings. Victoria, you should go home with Sincere. I'm much better now, I can manage on my own. Ethan looked incredibly guilty, but I couldn't detect a shred of genuine apology in his words. If anything, he was putting on a show of reluctance for Victoria's benefit. This display of being considerate successfully kept Victoria by his side. She shot me a glance, then turned back to Ethan. Don't be silly. If he wants to overthink things, that's his problem. Am I supposed to cater to his every whim? Victoria had never been known for her pleasant disposition. As long as she believed she was in the right, she would wait for the other person to make the first move before she'd even consider backing down. I knew she was still stewing over what happened a few days ago. There was no point in arguing about it, it would just be a waste of breath. But there was another matter I wanted to clear up. Ethan, the other day when I called Victoria, you deliberately didn't answer at first. When you finally did, you said she wasn't there and couldn't talk. I said I understood. All I asked was for you to have her call me back. I even specifically stressed that it was a matter of life and death you swore to me you would. So what happened? Ethan slapped his forehead with an "oh no damn it, Sincere, it completely slipped my mind. I'm so sorry. I honestly forgot I was running a high fever. My head was spinning. I couldn't remember a thing." What a mess. How did things turn out? Is the person okay? He acted deeply concerned, but I knew he was just gloating. I managed a small smile. Of course she's fine. Otherwise, you and I would not be finished. And you certainly wouldn't be standing here talking to me so casually. Victoria listened to our conversation, a confused look on her face. Clearly, she had no idea what we were talking about. Ethan had never told her about it, but she was smart, and she caught on quickly. Even without knowing the full story, she instinctively and unconditionally sided with Ethan. In that moment, she didn't care about who spoke first or who was backing down. She jumped in to defend him. Ethan probably just forgot. He's not a bad person. He wouldn't deliberately hide something from me. It was the same reaction she'd had countless times before when I'd questioned her about Ethan, or when I'd confronted Ethan directly. They say your gut reaction reveals your true feelings. It was painfully clear where Victoria's true feelings lay, and it wasn't with me. If she hadn't been so biased towards Ethan, if she had even a shred of fairness or reason left, she would have realized that the man who supposedly couldn't even speak in front of her couldn't possibly have had a full conversation with me. The sight of her racking her brain to make excuses for her first love was just laughable. I didn't want to say another word to them. I turned and walked away. Behind me, Victoria's voice dripped with displeasure at my attitude, still defending Ethan. "Sincere Dawson, you've been getting more and more unreasonable lately. I never realized you were such a petty, nitpicking person." Chapter 5. When I reached the door to my mom's room, I took several deep breaths, forcing myself to calm down and put on a smile. Only then did I push the door open and walk in. My mom was already able to do some simple activities on her own. Even though she was still weak, her thoughts were still with Victoria. "Where's Victoria? I haven't seen her in days." "Mom, she's just been swamped with work. She can't get away. Here, she asked me to bring you this chicken soup, and she told me to tell you she sends her best." I wasn't trying to do Victoria any favors. I was more concerned about my mom's health and state of mind. A wide smile blossomed on my mother's face. "Good, good. As long as you two are doing well, then everything is fine with me." A lump formed in my throat. I couldn't bear to imagine how heartbroken and desolate my mother would be if she knew that Victoria, the daughter-in-law she was so close to, had chosen to abandon her in her most desperate hour. All I could do was, each time she asked about Victoria, weave a web of white lies to protect her. I had to minimize any stress on her, to reduce the risk of a relapse. A few days of peace went by. On the afternoon of the 5th day, I had just come back upstairs from paying some bills when I saw Ethan and Victoria standing in my mom's hospital room. Both of them were smiling. I could hear the sound of their laughter mingling with my mother's. Her voice sounded happy. It seemed she still didn't know who Ethan really was. I pulled Victoria out of the room, making up an excuse that I needed her help with something. "How dare you bring him here? What on earth are you trying to do?" Victoria shot me a sideways glance. "If Ethan hadn't suggested coming to see your mom, I'd still be in his room taking care of him. And you? He comes here out of the kindness of his heart, and the first thing you do is question his motives. So, what you're saying is I should be thanking him?" Victoria didn't catch my sarcasm. She even nodded seriously. "Of course. And about that other thing, I haven't even brought it up with you yet. You should at least apologize to him." I was completely baffled, finding the whole situation ridiculous. It was clearly Ethan's fault, yet she was making it sound like I was deliberately giving him a hard time. Days of pent-up frustration finally erupted. "Victoria, do you even want to continue this marriage or not?" A look of impatience flickered across Victoria's face. She sighed. To me, her unspoken words were, "Here we go again. I don't understand what's gotten into you lately. You never used to be like this." She tried to sound calm, as if she genuinely wanted to find a solution, but I hadn't changed at all. The one who had changed was her. In the past, no matter what, she had always encouraged me. Whatever I did was right, and even when I was wrong, she rarely complained. Now, even asking a simple question was wrong. The last chance I had given myself ended with her words and her attitude. Any lingering hope I had shattered, leaving no room for illusion. The internal struggle I had been fighting for days finally came to a head. In that moment I made my decision. You never used to be like this either. I took a deep breath and slowly said the words, "Victoria, let's get a divorce." Chapter 6. To be honest, from the moment she refused to come and save my mom, I had already wanted to divorce her. The only reasons I hadn't said it yet were, 1, I was afraid I'd make a decision in the heat of the moment and regret it later, and 2, I was worried Victoria would come and cause a scene, which would affect my mom's recovery. Now my mom was pretty much better, and today's conversation made me realize, with stark clarity, that there was absolutely no turning back for us. To not cut ties now would only lead to more pain. Victoria stood frozen, staring blankly at me. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Do you have any idea what you're saying? You want to divorce me over something so small?" In her eyes, I had always been a good husband. I always did my best to think of her, to be understanding. But this was different. Even if she was busy with work and couldn't get away, I could have convinced myself to forgive her. But this was cheating. She did it to take care of her first love. I nodded firmly. "From now on, I won't bother you with these small things anymore. You should be happy about that." Victoria's face was a mask of undisguised shock. "I knew you blocked me. I sent you a message, but you should know me. If I'm angry and want to give someone the silent treatment, I don't reach out first. I'm here now, which means I'm trying my best to make things right. But this is the attitude I get. Sincere Dawson, I just don't understand you anymore." Her breathing grew more rapid, her anger escalating with every word. She threw open the door to my mom's room and dragged Ethan out. She didn't even say goodbye to my mom, her face a thundercloud the entire time. After they left, my mom asked me cautiously, "Did I do something wrong, or did Victoria have to miss work to come here?" She didn't look very happy. "No, Mom. She works here. It's just a trip downstairs. It's no big deal." "Then did you two have a fight?" "Honestly, Sincere, Victoria is a young woman. Can't you just be a little more patient with her?" Whenever Victoria and I had a disagreement, my mom always took her side. In the past, I would have just gone along with it, maybe even taken her words to heart. But today, I cut her off. "Mom, this isn't just some small argument. Please don't get involved." My mom was silent for a moment and then said no more. A month later, my mom had fully recovered and was discharged from the hospital. I was finally free from the endless cycle of shuttling between my office and the hospital. I could finally go home and breathe. Chapter 7. The moment I walked through the door, I saw Victoria cleaning the house. I didn't say hello. I just grabbed some of my things and started moving them into the spare bedroom. As I was moving my belongings, Victoria kept putting them back one by one, blocking my path to stop me. When she saw I wasn't reacting, she finally spoke, her voice tinged with the verge of tears. "Sincere, what on earth are you trying to do? You haven't been home in a month. You haven't sent me a single message. And now you finally come back, and the first thing you do is move into a separate room, with that long face, not saying a word." I thought for a moment, then pulled out my phone and showed it to her. "That's not right. I sent you the divorce papers. Didn't you get them?" After my mom's condition had started to stabilize, I had gone to my friend who's a lawyer. During my mom's rest periods, I had told him everything about my situation with Victoria and asked him to draft a divorce agreement. Since I had no time to go home, and the city offices were closed for the holidays anyway, I had sent the digital copy directly to Victoria to save time. Victoria took a few deep breaths, trying to change the subject. "No. Honey, I've been waiting for you to come home every single day. I've been doing a lot of reflecting lately. I was a bit too rash before. Between Ethan's situation and yours, I was just overwhelmed and said some things I didn't mean. Please don't take it to heart. I've even been learning to cook some of your favorite dishes. I've gotten pretty good at them. I'll make you some later to try." In the past, if I had heard Victoria being so attentive to me, I would have been ecstatic. I would have even posted pictures of the food on my social media feed, bragging about what a wonderful wife I had. This was because in our relationship, Victoria had always maintained that we were equals. This equality was reflected in our efforts for each other. We could do small, convenient things for one another. But if something was done specially for the other person, it implied that the person who did it was more invested. Whoever was more invested was the one who couldn't live without the other, the one who was putting in more effort. That was her philosophy. Even though I never understood why making a special effort for someone you love was such a big deal in her mind, I chose to respect it. I was willing to be, in her eyes, the one in the subordinate position in our relationship. But now, after my hopes and expectations had been dashed time and time again, this long overdue special effort could no longer make me ecstatic. I rejected her offer and sent her the divorce agreement again. When I heard the notification chime on her phone, I confirmed, "You definitely got it this time." Chapter 8. Victoria couldn't take it anymore. She finally exploded. "Sincere Dawson, this is the third time I have extended an olive branch. There's a limit to everything. Don't you think this has gone on long enough? Is this fun for you?" Yes, I received it. I deliberately said I didn't because I didn't want to fight with you. But look at you. Look at your attitude. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. She was the one who had made the mistake, and now she was acting as if she were the one giving me a chance. How had I never noticed what a master she was at twisting the truth? "I don't want to fight with you either. I already told you how this ends. As long as you do as I've asked, once everything between us is settled, I will disappear from your sight and never bother you again. But you're the one who's unwilling. You're the one who's clinging to this." Victoria had never been the type to swallow her pride. To prevent her from blowing small things out of proportion, I had always been extremely tolerant of her. As a result, in our 3 years together, I had defied her more in these last few days than in all the years combined. Combined with my repeated refusal to accept her olive branch, Victoria's hands were trembling with rage. She pointed a finger at my nose, speechless for a long moment. Then she spun around, stormed out, and slammed the door behind her to show her displeasure. 2 hours later, when she returned, she was holding a paper copy of the divorce agreement, already signed. She threw the stack of papers directly at me as I was curled up on the sofa watching TV. Then she went straight to her room. I looked it over, confirmed there were no issues, and took a picture to send to my lawyer friend, Charles Collins. A few minutes later, Charlie sent back a thumbs-up emoji. Half an hour after that, he messaged me. "Buddy, I've been hesitating, but I have to ask. What should I do about your father-in-law's case? Chapter 9. Last summer, Victoria's father, Lawrence Barrett, had received a letter from his company's lawyers. The company suspected that Mr. Barrett, a senior executive, had embezzled a substantial sum of company funds. Mr. Barrett vehemently denied the accusations. He claimed that as one of the company's founding employees, he had watched it grow from a small, struggling startup to a publicly traded corporation. The company was like his own child, he said. He would never do something like that. But the company claimed to have evidence, and Mr. Barrett couldn't produce anything to refute it. The case was filed with the court, awaiting trial. If Mr. Barrett was found guilty, setting aside everything else, the fine to compensate the company alone would be in the millions of dollars. During that time, a palpable sense of dread hung over the Barrett household. Mr. Barrett's hair turned white overnight, and his wife Eleanor sighed all day long. Although Victoria never said anything, she would often just sit there, lost in thought. Seeing her like that broke my heart. I racked my brain for solutions and decided that tackling the problem head-on was the best approach. So I contacted my friend Charlie Collins, who was a lawyer, and explained the situation. Charlie was my best friend since childhood. He had become a very successful lawyer after graduation. When he heard it was something to do with me, he beat his chest and promised he would do everything in his power to help. He also gave me the lowest possible rate. Still, it was a major case, and the legal fees were enough to be a burden for the Barrett family. When I recommended the lawyer to Victoria, I only said he was a friend of a colleague. I didn't reveal that Charlie was my best friend. In situations like this, if you succeed, everyone is happy. But failure is also a real possibility. Then the outcome of the case and the cost would both become issues. I didn't want Victoria to think that since he was my friend and the case didn't go well, she could pressure me to negotiate the price. I would be stuck in the middle, in an impossible position. Now that Victoria and I were getting divorced and the trial was imminent, it was only natural for Charlie, as my best friend, to ask for my thoughts. I thought about it for a long time. I really wanted to tell Charlie to just drop it. After all, Victoria and I were no longer connected, and given what she'd done and her attitude towards me, I had no obligation to help her. But then I thought about Charlie. As a lawyer, he had his own professional judgment and ethical obligations regarding whether to continue with a case. I couldn't let my personal feelings make him do something that went against his principles. Handle it however you think is best. Just pretend my relationship with you doesn't exist. Look at the case and decide if you still want to continue. I have nothing more to say about it. Charlie replied with an okay, and that was the end of that conversation. Over the next few days, I gradually packed up my things. Some I threw away, others I boxed up to move. The divorce agreement was very clear about the division of assets. Victoria, for her part, didn't argue about it. The trial was originally scheduled for a Wednesday. On the Sunday evening before, I heard Victoria in the master bedroom, seemingly arguing with someone on the phone. I held my breath and listened for a moment. The gist of it was that the lawyer had requested a postponement of the trial. Chapter 10. This delay could mean another 2 or 3 months, and Victoria was losing her patience. Mr. Collins, you were the one who said that the longer this case drags on, the harder it will be to find evidence. So why are you the one asking for a postponement now? Are you saying my father's embezzlement is a fact? So what do you suggest we do? We can't just keep hiding like this forever. She cursed a few times, and then the room fell silent again. I went back to my packing and paid it no mind. A week later, I had just finished moving my things into my new apartment when I received a call from Charlie's wife. Charlie had been in a car accident. He was in the hospital. When I arrived at the hospital, Charlie was lying in bed, staring blankly at the ceiling. His leg was in a thick cast, and one arm was in a sling across his chest. What happened? He managed a weak smile. It's nothing major. Some car violated traffic rules and slammed right into me. He said it so casually, but his wife, holding their child, spoke up. Nothing major? That arm, that leg, even his fingers are fractured. He also has 2 broken ribs. The doctor said he's lucky to be alive, They were just a hair's breadth away from puncturing his lung. If something had happened to him, what would the two of us do? A wave of fear washed over me. Did they catch the driver who did it? It was a hit and run, but he won't get away. There are cameras everywhere now. They'll catch him sooner or later. I nodded. That's good. You just focus on getting better. If you need anything at all, just call me. I didn't expect that the next evening, before I heard any news from Charlie, I would be greeted by a knock on my door from the police. After showing me their badges, they asked me a few simple questions. They asked about my relationships with Charlie and Victoria, whether I was the one who introduced them, and the reasons for the introduction. I recounted the entire story to the police. As I spoke, a sinking feeling began to form in my gut. Sure enough, the next morning I got a message from Charlie. They had caught the person. According to the driver's confession, he had been hired to do it, and the person who hired him was Victoria. Wait, what? Why? I was completely baffled and utterly shocked. Even though Victoria had her flaws, she was never a cruel person, never someone who would resort to murder over a small matter. Charlie stared at the ceiling. Probably because of the case? His words made me remember. Yeah, last week I think I heard her arguing with you on the phone. At the time, I figured it was your work, so I didn't ask you about it. What exactly happened? Charlie sighed. I just told her the truth about the case. Based on the current evidence, it's highly likely her father will be convicted. But I wanted to investigate it more thoroughly, just in case there was a way to turn things around. She must have misunderstood me. She probably thought I was trying to back out at the last minute, and that's why she got so angry. So Victoria had retaliated against Charlie because of this. An immense guilt washed over me. If I hadn't brought Charlie into this, he wouldn't have suffered such a senseless disaster. Charlie saw the look on my face. It's okay. This profession always comes with these kinds of risks. If it wasn't her, it could have been someone else. But could you do me a favor and give Victoria a message? Tell her I can't handle her case anymore. Chapter 11. Inside the detention center, Victoria stared blankly at the glass partition in front of her. When she heard the door open, she finally looked over. What are you doing here? To laugh at me? I hadn't come to argue with her. I just wanted her to understand that she was the one who had destroyed any hope for her father's case. I told her about my relationship with Charlie and then relayed his message verbatim. I really did consider telling him to drop your case, but he still chose to help you. Do you know? The road where you had someone crash into him, that was the route he had to take to verify details about your case. Victoria's eyes widened, her expression a complex mix of shock and perhaps remorse and self-blame. But no matter what she was feeling, it couldn't change the outcome. I've already informed your father. He'll have to find a new lawyer, but the new trial date is set for 2 weeks from now. With that much material to go through, the new lawyer probably won't have the time to meticulously search for evidence for you. And let me tell you one more thing. I trust Charlie's professional ability. Considering he couldn't find any exculpatory evidence after trying so hard, have you ever considered the possibility that your father was lying? Victoria collapsed onto her chair. Of course, she knew it was a possibility, but she had been unwilling to believe it, constantly avoiding it. It meant her father had been lying to them all along. Why would her father do that? They were a family, Victoria kept muttering. Impossible, impossible. She suddenly shot up and started pounding on the glass. You're lying to me. You're just taking advantage of the fact that I can't contact anyone on the outside. Coming here to lie to me and gloat. The guards at the detention center pulled her out of the room. As she was leaving, I saw 2 streams of tears running down her face. I don't know if they were tears of regret. A few days later, I heard another update on the case from Charlie. Victoria had recanted her confession during the initial interrogation. Victoria had insisted that she had gotten into an argument with Charlie and, out of anger, had hired someone to retaliate. The interrogating officers hadn't found anything suspicious. From the motive to the process of hiring the perpetrator, Victoria's account was clear and consistent. But the day after I left, Victoria suddenly changed her story. She now claimed that retaliating against Charlie was Ethan's idea. At first, she had been reluctant. Although she felt Charlie wasn't committed to the case, she wouldn't go so far as to harm him. But Ethan had constantly whispered in her ear, fanning the flames. He said Charlie was just trying to take the easy way out, and that would ruin her entire family. He also said that as long as she nodded her approval, he would handle everything else and she wouldn't have to worry about a thing. Seeing her indecisiveness, Ethan added that it was just to scare Charlie a little, and he guaranteed no one would get hurt. That, combined with Ethan's sweet talk, promising he would always be by her side, finally broke her. In a complex emotional state of wanting revenge and feeling moved by his devotion, Victoria finally gave her consent. After that, she truly had no involvement in what happened next. It wasn't until after Charlie's accident, when Ethan told her there had been a mishap, that she learned the truth. Chapter 12. At that point, Victoria was in no state to blame Ethan. Besides, when he told her, he was full of panic and helplessness. She felt a pang of pity for him, thinking that this whole mess had started because of her, and that Ethan had only done it to stand up for her. She found herself comforting him. At the same time, she had him explain the entire sequence of events to her. So when the police came for her, Victoria took the fall for everything to protect Ethan. After my visit, Victoria realized she had been manipulated by Ethan, that she had been blinded by him. On top of that, in all that time, Ethan hadn't visited her even once. The love she had fantasized about and hoped for finally shattered. She told the truth. When Ethan was brought in for questioning, he didn't confess right away. Instead, he accused Victoria of slandering him. This made Victoria's heart grow even colder. Finally, through questioning the hit-and-run driver, the police confirmed Ethan's involvement and arrested him. At the police station, when Ethan and Victoria came face to face, he cursed her out, calling her untrustworthy and insincere. He even bluntly told her he was only ever after her for her money. Victoria couldn't believe she had wasted all her love on a snake. The two of them nearly came to blows. Half a month later, the verdict came in for Lawrence Barrett's case. He was found guilty of embezzlement and faced a mountain of fines. But he had already bought a plane ticket and was on his way out of the country. From the very beginning, his plan had been to save himself, with no regard for his family. The police locked down the airports and other transport hubs, and eventually apprehended him. Ethan was sentenced to prison for attempted murder. As for Victoria, she was also sentenced to a term for harboring a criminal and being an accomplice. The Barrett family, once comfortably well off, was completely ruined. Eleanor Barrett couldn't accept the reality of both her husband and daughter being imprisoned. She took her own life at home. I stayed in that city until Charlie had fully recovered. I then applied for a transfer to a different city with my company. Taking my mom with me, I moved away from that place for good. I rented a larger apartment, which made it easier to take care of her. I had already talked to her about the divorce from Victoria a while back. She didn't try to persuade me or scold me as she usually would. She said that on a matter this big, she trusted my judgment and knew I had my reasons. Later, I heard that after Victoria was released from prison, she was desperately looking for me. She told all their mutual friends. She said she was sorry, that she regretted not cherishing me back then. She shouldn't have gotten divorced out of spite. She shouldn't have, knowing she was in the wrong, tried to muddle through with arguments and deceit. But it was all too late. To make sure she could never bother me again, I had already moved away. I didn't tell anyone where I had gone. I deleted the contact information of all her friends. From that day on, I never saw her again, nor did I ever hear another word about her.